Andreas.
Hi.
And today we have one of the craziest topics that you could have coming out of a place like Hollywood dealing with pop culture. I was struggling last night looking for stuff to talk about, and when I saw this, I then immediately got articles from both of you, sent me...
I sent you a meme I made.
No, you sent me the article first and then the meme.
Okay.
But she also sent me one, and so I thought we had to start with this today, and that is this horrifying story about Alec Baldwin, my hero from 30 Rock.
Oh dear.
He's not a bad. It's not like he's a bad guy.
All right, let's just read the dang thing.
Yes. So he
Agree to disagree.
accidentally. Okay, I haven't read through it completely.
No,
so.
I would never let him sit down with me at a table. Like 10 years ago, people would be like, "Oh my God, is Alec Baldwin here?" I'd be like, "Not again," and I would get up and leave. So I'm not for him.
What did he do to you?
Another time after the conversation.
Okay.
Let's
So
read it.
what happened was Alec Baldwin on the set of his new movie Rust shot a prop gun that ended up killing the cinematographer of the movie, Helena Hutchins, and also injured the director of the movie. Am I right about that?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Two people. It's like two birds, one stone.
Oh boy. So this is. I know it's a kind of a depressing way to go as far as pop culture topics go, but
Really quickly, do you know what the movie was about?
no.
It was about. I just want to say it was about a guy who's wrongfully arrested for murder. All right, keep going.
You
The
can't.
irony.
Yeah, you can't. It's like you.
Is it irony or is it poetic justice? And is this all like symbols?
Wait, why is it poetic?
Poetic.
You have to
Let him
yeah.
read the article.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I don't know.
Why
I
is
just
it-
feel like it's not an accident necessarily.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
so
keep going.
It says a distraught Alec Baldwin said on Friday that there are no words to convey his shock and sadness after accidentally shooting and killing the female cinematographer on the set of his new movie Rust. I have an issue with why it matters that she was female. How about just killed a human being on the set of his new
No,
movie
we
Rust?
gotta be woke as fuck.
Yes, then he was cooperating fully with the police investigation into what happened. It says that Baldwin accidentally killed Helena Hutchins, a 42-year-old married mother of two and director of photography on the new movie that was filming on a ranch in Santa Fe, New Mexico, on Thursday at 1:50 p.m. It says that he believed to have fired a single round from a prop gun that somehow struck both Hutchins and the movie director, 48-year-old Joel Souza. Witnesses cited by Showbiz 411 said that a single bullet struck Hutchins in the body and pierced Souza's clavicle. Hutchins was airlifted to the hospital but was pronounced dead. Souza was taken to the hospital by an ambulance but was released Thursday in the evening. Baldwin, 63, was taken to the sheriff's department to be questioned. He was released without charge after giving a tearful interview. Afterwards, he was photographed doubled over in shock and grief as he spoke on the phone.
Well, do you think they would have learned their lesson the first time when it happened to Bruce Lee? Because that's what happened to Bruce Lee, and then his son.
Did that happen to
Yeah.
Bruce Lee too?
Yeah,
and
it
Brandon
happened.
Lee?
It's
yeah.
not the first or the last time that someone's had blanks that weren't blanks either.
I knew about Brandon Lee because
It happened to Bruce Lee first. So when he was in mid jump, there's a movie where they talk about it. It's like a
saw it.
documentary
Okay.
where he's in mid jump and they're shooting the prop gun, but the prop gun had a real bullet in it.
No,
forget-
it didn't have a real bullet. It was a blank, but a blank is just a cartridge with gunpowder and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
extra.
when you have something in front of the blank, it's a projectile.
Oh,
Right.
So that's what
okay.
happened. The
Wait.
blank fired the projectile,
There
Yeah.
was
but it wasn't a manufactured
There
bullet.
was a DVD, I think it was Fists of Fury from like 2003 that you could get, and it had like an Easter egg. If you typed 666 like chapter, you could see the video, the film of it actually.
Of that actually happening.
Yeah, but
it
there
was-
is a movie
remember
where
seeing that, I was,
they
like, 12.
reenact everything. Like they hired an actor and they showed you
Yeah.
exactly what happened.
Whereas his son got killed
What
with
happened
like
to-
got
yeah.
shot in the temple. You know, he got shot in the temple and in a blank with a blank.
But
Yep.
that was like a piece of, if I'm right, you may know this because you knew about the Bruce Lee, like a piece of cardboard got pushed out of the
Again
the
with
blank,
projectile,
yeah,
yeah.
and then
Hit him in
Yeah,
the temple.
I don't know if it was cardboard. I just
It-
know it was like a projectile.
It was shrapnel
was-
that hit him in the temple, and so the temple took him out. But the thing that's messed up about it also is that like everybody working with him hated him. So that's the other not not his son, but Bruce Lee was like rather like frustrating for a lot of the crew. So there's always been stories.
Well, it's
you
because
know?
Bruce Lee had a certain way how he wanted to produce his art. So,
Yeah, to make himself look good and make other people look bad. You know.
Well, like also he was a
Hollywood.
hard worker too. Like he
Yeah.
created his own fighting style, which you can learn to this day.
I think there's a nice thing though in Hollywood where people like to present themselves as like Jesus-like figures who've never sinned,
Well,
as
I
opposed to
just-
just like well-driven madmen, which
I
is
don't
more
know.
accurate.
Well, that's what the idea is. Like they get to that level of fame, whether we think whatever you think about actors being wishy-washy, which I actually have a lot of empathy for, because like it's not easy to like empty yourself emotionally in front of like 200 people and expect you to not be a little bit crazy while doing that.
Unless you're
but
sociopath.
but most of them are driven people who put in long hours. I mean, the cast the idea is always like the crew never gets any of the credit, but the actors do put in a lot of work. So I
Absolutely.
do have a lot of respect for the hustle. But in cases like this, like I don't put any of the blame on Baldwin if he did not load that gun with
He's
the
just old. He's just old.
Yeah, let's just hope the best for Alec Baldwin.
He's only
Okay.
63.
I mean, so like, I mean, at least it wasn't that. I don't know. I don't want to like. You can't speculate too hard. This is
Well,
like a
that's what I'm
wrong time to. But there's a lot of people that are asking questions about affairs, things going on in his background right now. There's a lot of other things in his past too that are coming up. So I don't think it's fair to say like, oh wow, this guy who's so innocent and
I'm not saying he's
noble.
innocent or that he's
That's
even a
not-
good
I'm not for
guy.
that yet
I'm
either.
saying that, like in this case, like accidents happen. Like, can you imagine being like on the set of a John Wick movie and none of this stuff ever happens? Like, so
Of
it's like
course.
if it unfortunately in this case, if it is a mistake, it's not his mistake unless he was fucking around. But sorry, if he was
No, I already
messing
said it,
around
you're fine.
between takes or something like that, but that doesn't seem like something a seasoned actor would do. You'll find out more down the line, but the idea that he's responsible when he was not the one who loaded that gun and gave it to the actor.
We all saw Psych. We remember that episode with the Telemundo, remember?
Yes,
And
yep.
and so what's he there for? Is to see somebody who like accidentally killed someone on a soap opera, because the thing was loaded. So this happens a lot, and it could be completely,
And the other thing I was thinking about is I have friends who work in the industry, and a lot of what's been talking about lately is the whole idea of the union, and they almost went on strike recently
Yeah.
because of horrible working conditions. And my inner part of me when I read that stuff is I'm like, grow up, it's your job, do your job, boo-hoo, your work is hard. But I also understand that people have, difficult jobs, long hours for minimal pay. It's like, so this happening at that same time, it seems like it's almost like a weird,
yeah.
like could connect to that somehow. They're like, see what happens when you don't give our crew time to rest between takes, something awful happens.
I appreciate that because it doesn't necessarily mean that everything's a conspiracy. It could
Yeah.
easily be an accident. Because it could be a consequence of poor working conditions, and all of these things are true. But I'm not sure one way or another yet. And I think it's kind of like this is something that they never arrested him. Like they made a conversation with him. He was contacted, but there's no effort to find out because they're saying there's not enough evidence. I haven't seen, for instance, why the director and the cinematographer, as opposed to an actor, was right in front of the gun.
Yeah, why was
There's a lot of things to wonder about this.
I am
but-
picturing him like half drunk on set, like put him up, and then like.
But we are in Hunter Biden America now, where we kind of want to forgive and forget. So maybe we should just hope the best for him.
I don't know. It's this is just one of those things that I thought this topic was so crazy because I think of this as something from the past. Like the Brandon Lee was the last one I could remember. Was there another one more recently?
Yeah, there's a lot.
Well, other than the stunt double from Deadpool 2, where she died from the motorcycle accident because
People
she was
die all the
riding
time.
the motorcycle down
I
the
forgot
stairway.
about that one, too.
Yeah, they brushed over it because they didn't really care, but it was like a big deal because dude, she died on set.
There was the actress who was paralyzed, the stunt woman who was paralyzed. Or no, it was a production assistant who got paralyzed on the set of Batwoman in season
Yeah.
1.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The same thing with Ruby Rose, how she basically quit because she was getting injured too
Dude,
much.
people-
But now they're calling her a liar.
Yeah,
People don't really think about how dangerous it is to film things. Also, so let's say you're a young producer and they bring you to make a movie, which isn't even necessarily in a safe place. It could be Hollywood, which by the way is worse than anywhere I've ever been, or it could be like in Hotlanta. You go down to Georgia. I have a friend of mine who's just shooting on Panther 2, and he got shot because he pass someone in traffic. So someone pulled out a gun and shot him.
Oh, not like but because of the set, but just
No,
he was
yeah,
in a really
yeah.
dangerous area.
Yeah, because he was being a
and-
gopher to go get coffee for the set, and they sent him to a bad. It's like a lot of people are in very dangerous positions in Hollywood that could easily be, or whatever, because it's like it's a bad job, and they'll get you to do whatever. But I don't think that's what's happening here. We're talking about someone who made, a direct shooting directly at
Like,
and shot 2 people.
It
That
makes
seems
no
different.
sense that it wasn't another
We're going on
actor.
conspiracy corner.
No, I'm just
Slowly.
saying, like, I'd like to know more about it before I was like, I wish him well.
Not
you
even
know?
conspiracy, but just like the lack of accountability. Like anybody else would be investigated extremely
Yeah.
heavily for
Totally.
doing something like that. Because shouldn't there be footage? Theoretically, there should be. I guess if they have direct evidence that they can prove that this was an accident.
And 30
I guess-
Rock is no savior for his character because Norm Macdonald was replaced by, that lady. What?
Nothing. Don't worry about it.
So yeah,
No.
it's a
Tina Fey. Tina Fey, 30 Rock. There's no trust. It's over.
I don't know. Like I forgot about you mentioned Ruby Rose, and that kind of connects too because like you said, they're like pulling her into, like they're saying
Yeah.
she's like an awful.
Yeah, they're saying she's a liar, and I'm like, why is she a liar? Why would you lie about experiencing like brutal bruises and then like injuries on set?
Or they said like they made her come back to work 10 days after her neck surgery or
Dude,
something
that
like
kind of
that.
reminds me of like how the Korean film industry is,
Mhm.
because like I don't know if you know this TV show that's on Netflix. It's called Boys Over Flowers. It's very old, but
Mhm. I remember
very classic if you ever get into K-dramas. But basically the main actress, what happened to her, the same reason with Ruby Rose, like she got into a car accident and like Korea doesn't really care about their actors. They're like, it's either you're here or you're not.
Yeah.
And like they told her you have to be here right away. So like she didn't even have a week to recover. She went back to on set and she had like bandages all over her. And they just
Jeez.
played the episode saying, oh, she just got injured on like as a character on
They
set.
wrote
Well,
it into the
yeah.
story.
Mm-hmm.
the father of the girl from Willy Wonka who turns into like, I want it more, daddy. Like he was killed, I think, in a horse, or maybe he's paraplegic in a horse accident. Brendan Fraser similarly was put in a horse accident. A lot of the time what happens
forgot
is
about
someone
that.
offends somebody in Hollywood and then they get you a bad job where they have just enough insurance to get you addicted to pills after they break your back. So I mean there's all kinds of bad, like they choose to do things to people. I don't know.
I mean, I think part of that is also, like you said, not necessarily that they're trying to get them injured, but they're just going to put them with irresponsible
Yeah.
producers. Or
But they kind of, I
irresponsible-
think it's,
yeah.
like Brendan Fraser has definitely hoped that he would,
He's having his own like his version of the reconnaissance right now.
dude, his new movie's gonna be amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, okay, do we next topic, or does
Yeah.
anybody else have anything ridiculous to say about horrifying Hollywood injuries that are extremely depressing?
Why are you looking at me like I know this?
No, I'm asking if anybody else has anything interesting to say.
Oh,
in the extreme.
What about the first Superman actor where he fell off the horse and
Right.
got paralyzed?
Christopher?
Another example.
Christopher
Mhm.
Reeves?
Yeah.
Is he's not still alive, is he?
No.
No, he's dead.
He passed away.
He's long
Okay.
dead.
He's
I like the South Park though, where he like becomes immortal on stem cell research.
Speaking of Superman,
Mhm.
that is a fantastic
Yeah, I got you,
segue
fam.
right into the next article,
Epic.
which is continuing what we were discussing yesterday about the continued social push to use our culturally iconic characters and turn them into mouthpieces for random movements that are becoming rackets.
But
within
come on,
society.
man. Have you seen his boyfriend? He's kind of cute with that pink hair.
But like that's the thing. Like their idea of gay has nothing to do with gay. It's commodification
Mhm.
of Pride Month. This is literally what people get upset about. Gay culture gets upset about when you have like, oh, you know what? I love gays. I'm gonna sell you for $29.95 a Rainbow Beach blanket.
Yep.
That doesn't help anybody, endorse anybody, advocate for anybody. That just exploits. That's literal exploitation.
They call it, what do they call it? Queer capitalism or like rainbow capitalism.
I call it queer exploitation if you're gonna use because it's exploiting is all it really is.
They call it rainbow capitalism. Is basically like every Pride Month, all you see is the pride flags on every Fortune 500 company except for their Saudi Arabia division.
Do you remember greenwashing? It's the same thing as greenwashing, where they were like, "Hey, we're gonna make our product seem greener because we're gonna have recycled plastic." You know, McDonald's.
Oh, yeah.
All of McDonald's plastics recycled. Does that mean
That's still
But
a
the
thing,
DC
though, right?
comic wasn't in trouble just because of the gay thing. I feel like they got in trouble because of anti-American.
Define in
motto.
trouble. What do you mean in trouble?
Well,
She's bad press.
Yeah, bad press.
Bad
right
press.
now.
I mean, all I'm
They
hearing
want
is that
they want this press.
no press is bad press. All the press is good press. Well, I just heard that they're going to have to reprint this a bunch of times because it sold out.
Be careful because a lot of times they overship to these shops, and when issues like this get a large scale speculators buy them to resell. It's
Yeah,
not because
true.
it's popular; it's because it's culturally relevant.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what they do is, and you know this, the reason these characters get no love these days is they don't build good characters. They just restart at number one and count on collectors needing to collect that new number one as a way to keep
Exactly.
sales moderately high.
Exactly, and that's why Japan is beating our asses for it.
We don't stand a chance against manga or or anime. That is for sure right now. Not in a world where
Because they're un-PC, they don't care.
the story comes first. And I know this is a controversial take from Andreas, but Andreas doesn't like the hero's journey. So if anybody watching would like to just
I don't-
cover him with derision
I
and
didn't
hatred,
say I
would
don't.
be okay with
I just
that.
find it boring over and over again. If you don't have the hostile feminine archetype of going through what you can't stop and how that makes you feel. If something hurts and scares you and things like that, a lot of time in the hero's epic, it doesn't matter how bad the thing is because you can overcome it, which is like it's very gratuitous at a certain point. If it doesn't have the other, it needs both halves. All right?
Can you explain to me what you think the other half is?
The like the hostile feeling of being a victim, victimhood.
We are in a culture with so much,
Oh.
with more than enough victimhood to go around. I require a return to the hero's journey and heroes that actually struggle to do what they do. I don't need Captain Marvel to be good at everything she does right off the bat.
That's true too.
I don't need
that's
superheroes.
actually what I mean. The hero's epic now is all about these Mary Sues, when I'd much rather them be victims who learn how to overcome it.
But speaking about
So-
like victimhood and all of that, like hear this quote right here.
Old Boy is an epic movie.
We'll go into the article. I actually heard about this from Ethan Van Sciver on Comic Artist Pro Secrets the other day. But it says Superman colorist Gabe El Taib has announced that he's quitting his job over the decision by DC Comics to change the hero's motto from "Truth, Justice in the American Way" to "Truth, Justice, and a Better Tomorrow." I am finishing my contract with DC. I am tired of this. I am tired of them ruining these characters that they don't have a right to do this, said El Taib. Earlier this week, the comic book publisher announced that Superman's motto will be evolving. There was evolving. Jim Lee, executive creative officer and publisher at DC, said in a press statement that the decision is meant to better reflect the storylines that we are telling across DC in honor of Superman's incredible legacy over 80 years of building a better world. DC announced this month that their new Superman, John Kent, is bisexual, but El Taib claimed that this did not influence his decision. See, I would like them to now just go right back to having a girlfriend.
Yeah, I mean,
It'd be really funny if they just went, he's bisexual, so that if they just turned it right around on him and just put him right back with a woman.
just like Degrassi.
But his boyfriend is very feminine. Like, look at that flaming pink hair.
I don't know if there's a photo
Well,
of him.
you can keep reading
There it
the
is.
series about
He's
his
right,
boyfriend.
He's right there. He is, that is, yes.
I think this is another.
Whatever you're into.
This is
Like,
another
you know,
thing.
like,
I mean-
again with the commodification and exploitation of queer culture, because pink hair has nothing.
it's
Pink
a
itself-
stereotype.
Pink, pink was the guy's color until the 30s. If you look at old magazines, they talk about if you're gonna have a boy, you want to give them a radically brighter room. If you want a girl's room, you want to give her a subdued blue room. And then eventually, John Wayne stopped wearing pink shirts, and they said, "Hey, let's get the activation color for girls." Pink was what the Brahmin priests wore in ancient India. It's like a Baptist gray suit. Like pink does not mean feminine.
Well, in today's gender,
It means conformist.
but as I say, what I liked, something that Ethan Van Sciver talks about when he's talking about these characters, and the reason why a lot of this bothers me is that he says that too many of these writers now don't treat the characters with respect. They treat them as mouthpieces for their own political views, when what they should be thinking of themselves as caretakers. You are given the honor of taking care of this character and their legacy for however many issues, and it's your job to take that character and leave it in the same condition that you found it, meaning that you should not radically change or alter something that has 80 years of history for the sake of 2021 modern politics. It's stupid and short-sighted.
Unless you need to like make a completely new thing that masks all of the values, and you're trying to save those values, you can put it into a new packaging.
Then why
It's
don't
the
they?
opposite of what
But
they're doing.
that's still the problem. The problem. Then you do that with new characters. You don't do
They're
that
doing
with
the
established
opposite.
characters.
They're
Yeah.
trying to take new values, and then they're trying to wash away everything that came before.
Who is there? Can you give anyone an example of a good character that is already in the realm of LGBTQ that actually is worth reading?
Well, it might go along the lines of Marvel. I know you hate Marvel, but
I don't hate Marvel. I'm just preferential to not
Marvel
anymore.
is considerably gay.
But now DC is doing everything they can to.
well, if you want to talk about DC characters, my favorite character that's along the lines of the gay community is John Constantine. He is bisexual, but they don't really flaunt it until recently when they did Legends. Is it
Yeah.
Legends of Tomorrow?
Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah, where they said, "Oh, he's bisexual, but he's very bisexual. Like the villain is his boyfriend that went into hell."
Lucifer's pretty gay too.
I was gonna say,
but anything Neil Gaiman did was beyond gender, sexuality. Like in the 80s, it wasn't like we're advocating for this this arcana of persona. It wasn't about the shape of it. It was like you could be whatever you wanted. Hence, bisexual is like, I don't care who you are. I just am a sapiosexual. I like people who think.
I don't know sapiosexual.
It's somebody who's attracted to intelligence.
Oh.
Right? It had nothing to do
John
with
Constantine didn't really care. He dated King Shark
Yeah.
for a bit.
But I
That was
think
interesting.
Green Arrow, wasn't Green Arrow's kid bi for a minute, and I think
No,
there's
I don't think so. Unless you read the Red Hood series, where it's him, Red Hood, and Starfire, and they had a polyamorous relationship.
yeah, that was kind of like the Doom trilogy by Araki, but with superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
I just, to me, the issue's more, it's this inability to leave the characters in the same condition that they found them, that they end up being radically different. It's like when they turned Iceman, they randomly turned Iceman gay, even though it was in direct conflict with everything his character had previously
Well,
been.
it's because the actor for Iceman was gay in real life, so they just want.
What?
Are you talking about
Comics.
my bad, my bad.
Was he in? I didn't even know Iceman was in a live action.
Yeah, he was in the live action.
What?
Is his name Iceman or Captain Cold? I think I'm talking about Captain Cold.
Captain Cold's DC. Iceman is Marvel.
So Disney.
Iceman was a character that was always considered to be kind of a playboy and very much straight, and then just randomly Cena Grace changed his story and basically made it like a self-insert of his own coming out experience, which it's not comic book. It's not interesting for comics. These should be large-scale galactic tales of good and evil, right and wrong, not boring human. I mean, these characters, most of them aren't even human. Why are we talking about uniquely human 2021 social and cultural issues with characters that are larger than
It's
life?
kind of like when they said they have the first Muppet of color, recently. It's like, did you not recognize that every Muppet was a color before, a different one? They're so literal and they're so unable to symbolize. They get stuck on it.
It's
know?
okay.
They don't know how to tell good stories. They only know how to take people who have already previously written good stories and use it for their own interests.
But they've done studies on people today, like younger people that are unable to visualize. They cannot see in their imagination idea. They can only understand definitions that they've memorized, and they have to write words down.
Buzzwords.
They literally,
in a
but
way.
it's weird when you see the difference between someone who can imagine, like a guy walks into a bar. You have a guy walking into a bar. Not a lot of there's new people that can't think that way. So it's completely destroyed symbolism. The other thing is with superheroes, if they, in general, they have secrets. It's not. It could be that they're gay. It could be whatever their secret is, but they have to protect it. It's like a in the closet kind of thing. Cause it hurts the identity of their friends and family. So there's something kind of antithetical to superhero mythos and being open, unless it's you're part of this super open justice. If you're part of the Justice League and everyone knows who you are all the time.
It's just weird that they connect it all, because it's not like people are looking at these stories for their love lives. That's what's always weird to me. It's like, why do we care?
Some people are. That's what I mean. Some people cannot see beyond themselves.
Shippers are the weirdest people on the planet.
Dude, the Annie fandom community, dude, it's so toxic. Especially What show did it get canceled because of the fandom was like too strong? Oh, I think it's not Avatar. I think it was like another DreamWorks or a Nickelodeon show where like everybody was like shipping them too much. But yeah, like shippers are really insane. Like
So can you just describe that for all of our grown-ups here? What that word means?
shipper? So
Yeah.
basically like saying like John Kent and his boyfriend. What's his boyfriend's name? Do you have the name of him or no?
I don't know if it has the name.
Okay, well,
here.
it doesn't matter in this case
Yeah.
then. Well, basically, it can be John Kent X, Damian Wayne, and like they're dating and like they're writing fan fiction about it. If you don't know what fan fiction
If
means,
you're- If you're writing
Mhm.
fan fiction,
Mhm.
that's a shipper.
yeah, that's basically a shipper. So like any like character that you can think of, two characters that you think of. Also, like shippers can be like you can ship yourself with the character.
Is it relationship
Shipping is
Mhm.
just like if
Yeah.
you watch a
Oh.
TV show and people want two characters to get together,
in a
Mhm.
relationship?
Yes.
Yeah.
Shippers.
and
Okay.
then people who are into it are the weirdest.
I used to be
weirdest
like that.
people. Like that's like
Yeah, they make up Twilight. Isn't
It's
50 Shades of Grey was created by a shipper?
Yeah,
probably. I
it
mean, it's kind
is.
of in the same vein as like it's basically Tumblr, right? We
Mhm.
got the whoever the evil person was who like banned who like let Tumblr loose on the world.
I could be a shipper.
Like
I could do like Cookie Monster with Oscar the Grouch. I think that would make a pretty good.
Now you have to
story.
come up with a name for that then. So it's got to have a
Trashy
clever-
Kraus?
romance.
No, it's Kraus.
It would be Kraus, yeah, or Kraus, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That stuff is the shipping stuff is always weird to me.
Mhm.
Any type of fanfic or
My Little Pony one is really weird.
I like how originally at some point someone said, you know what? There's this great example of a homosexual relationship on the Sesame Street, and it's Bert and Ernie, and they live
Mm.
together, and they said, "Isn't this true? Isn't this true?" And then
No.
Sesame Street was like, "No, they're puppets."
No, they said they're friends
They-
because
they-
it's
they-
actually based on a real gay couple, and they're like, no, it's actually about like
the guy who
friendships.
came
But
out
like,
from-
what about this article where like they're talking about how the whole thing with being gay and then like basically being un-American? Because like
Being-
Bert and Ernie is great, but like being gay and then like being un-American, like to me, like I don't see the correlation of it. Like they didn't really explain it well in the articles that I was reading, but basically he was upset. Like the motto, like what was the motto again for like Superman that they changed it?
Truth, justice in the American way has given way to truth, justice, and a better tomorrow, which just sounds like a corporate media slogan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the
That's why he was really upset because it's very un-American. What do you mean for a better tomorrow? Like every day is like a better tomorrow if you're surviving.
In America, I mean, that's it. Like they literally are anti-American in the fact that they
Mhm.
don't see this place as a place to be proud of,
Mhm.
as a place where you can have a better tomorrow, because everyone is suffering from some sort of oppression, except for me and Andreas, apparently.
Slash, there's like 2 billion people that are going to be, or maybe 4 that are going to be like not American ideologically at all, and they're going to be more likely to relate to a better tomorrow.
Mm.
I mean, the American way is the American way. Is that the only way? Like,
No.
He is an American icon, though. The point is that that's the point of his character. He represents small-town America and someone rising to the occasion and inheriting old-school American values.
Mhm.
You want a character that represents a better tomorrow in a boring, bland, generic corporate America sense. Find your own character,
Right.
make him, and then release that comic book. If you can't come up with a better name than Superman, which might be the most generic name in the world, that's on you. Not on,
Yeah.
it's not Superman's fault.
Superman-
Leave Superman alone.
so with characters, you're always trying to encrypt some data from like a longer ago story. So Superman's carrying on from traditions from hundreds of years earlier, right? I mean, I think that's the Spiegel was the guy who, I think it's Siegel or Spiegel was
I
like the
think
guy.
it's Spiegel.
Spiegel created Superman, and there's a reason why he's got black hair instead of like blonde hair, right? Because he's basically Moses. He's carrying on his familial traditions of like being raised Jewish in New York. He's created a character that he can
But
represent.
Superman wasn't Jewish. He was a
Yeah.
farm boy.
I mean, but like really,
because
he
he's
is.
an alien.
Yeah, but he's but he really is, and he's got certain values that they're Kal-El represents.
Aren't all the women who get to have kids with superheroes lucky that aliens just happen to look like Henry Cavill? Apparently,
That's true.
Who's Henry Cavill?
Hey,
I'm
guy who
so
plays
sorry.
Superman.
Another note is Superman was in a pod just like Moses was in a basket in the river.
Right, absolutely.
That is
Yeah.
true.
There's a lot
didn't
of
think
a
that.
lot of things that he was proud to encrypt into the story in a way that would become
And the
accessible.
symbol is a symbol of his of Krypton, right? It's not.
No, it's a symbol of his family, so it's
the
a family crest.
Right.
Okay.
But that S also, I forget, but there's something about
It's
this.
actually a reactor logo.
Yeah.
The S is like the serpent
The
that
stolen.
wraps around the staff. There's a whole bunch of other stuff too.
Mhm.
But it's, who cares? The point is that encrypting that data, and the less we understand it, the better, because that way it gets you can enjoy it, and today's audience can enjoy it. Because maybe you don't care about Moses in a basket the way you do about Superman in space. So whatever tomorrow's is, if they can get those values into kids who haven't heard it before.
And that's okay. So before our generation, those kids would have been told about. I'm sure there's something in between there, right? Between Moses and Superman, there's a character.
Well, it's called Veggie Tales.
No. Superman's in the 30s, and I guess in the
Oh
middle.
yeah, the early 40s, right?
Yeah.
So, if this new generation wants their own allegorical character to relate to what they believe in, create your own
Right.
character.
But it's so
and-
hard because like this generation doesn't really believe about religion. Like everybody's non-religious. I identify as non-religious but I do like still give respects for all religions. But everybody is like identifying like not being religious or being atheist. So how would you like create a new character that's?
I'm
like,
not saying a
atheist?
religious character. I'm saying that
Yeah.
we've got Superman, who is supposed to be a allegorical connection to Moses,
Right.
and these people want to create some type of paradigm around LGBTQIA+. So instead of taking characters that have already been spoken for and making them fit your agenda, create a new and interesting character and make sure that is part of the core tenets of who that character is before you launch.
They need
The reason people rebel against this stuff is because you're taking fundamental traits from things that have a lot of inherent value to people who grew up reading these stories, and you're fundamentally changing them. You can have the same reaction with members of the LGBTQ community, but it has to be part of the character at its birth, not in the middle of it.
Right. I think that you can see in the 60s, right, and it to Marvel's credit as a DC preferred person, you can see that Stan Lee really created a plethora of new kinds of new characters and one new kind of character, which is you get rid of the elite uber super cape character, and you have people wearing these wetsuits. Basically, it's like
Yeah.
the California 60s era.
I like it how you described it as wetsuits. I saw it
That's
as
literally
spandex.
Well, spandex is not quite like Spider-Man does.
You're biased because you wear swimsuits every day.
I mean, but I actually
So-
there's Stan Lee talked about how like wetsuits were the inspiration for getting rid of capes,
I can see that.
and the future of comic books. I think Icon Comics in the 80s and 90s started working towards more like like motorcycle outfits.
Yeah.
That you have to figure out what the next
Wolverine
iteration
got
will be.
out of his yellow leotard and got into blue jean or dark jeans and a motorcycle jacket. In the movie.
yeah,
but there's
I'm
but
still upset.
you
about
have
old man Logan.
You have a different kind of comic book now, though, because you had Nietzschean characters like from space. They're beyond man characters, and then you had working in a lab became Flash, working with the spider comes Superman.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Sorry, Spider-Man. Right, Spider-Man is he gets bit by the spider, and then but Green Arrow is a wealthy Batman. Batman's a wealthy man. Like it's Superman is a kind of character that's beyond these other kinds of characters because he has to subdue himself in public. He's wearing a costume to hide his powers. Like there's a reason why people are latching on to using that character to present their new morale.
But they don't
Yeah.
just do it with Superman. They do it with all of these characters.
Yeah, like
They-
Gambit, like
yeah.
that one rendition of Gambit where the artist and is she the artist or the author? Where she based off of the new design of Gambit on her. So Gambit, like the new one, which they kind of canceled it. It's supposed to be like a black woman with a fro. And
Yeah.
her name is Gambit. Like, there's nothing different about her.
The whole problem with this generation is they just don't have enough Crisis on Infinite Earths. I mean, seriously, if all we had was a generation that was familiar with the multiverse properly, like really literate in multiverse, there would be no more of this because people would be like, okay, here's this week's version of Superman, and we would move on.
I'm not even a huge fan of the different iterations. I understand that it's part of comic lore and that it's part of the process, but when a character becomes iconic, that is now what it is.
I mean, but Batman and Book of the Dead is still better.
There's a
than
reason
anything.
why Dean Cain, who wasn't white, could play Superman, because he looks like what you imagine Clark Kent would look like when you look at those pictures from all of those comics years prior. He had the hair, the facial structure. He looked like Superman. Henry Cavill looks like Superman. You can't just change it and make them something else, either internally or externally.
I mean, a Green Lantern, you know, like you can make characters that could be different characters too. Like you can build it around a, you know, an IP where it's like there are lanterns. You know, it doesn't have to. I mean, Superman from this planet doesn't mean there couldn't have been a few other people that survived some other way.
Well,
And that's personal preference. I'm just not a huge fan of that because it's it dilutes the
Yeah.
the feeling of the character. But the Elseworld story should be every so often. They shouldn't be regular releases.
I think they'd be a very healthy vice for our culture. They would allow people to get out these concepts cathartically, and then we'd be able to move back to the original Superman.
And that's the other thing. Once you turn these characters, you can't ever turn them back.
don't
You and
know
I know
about that.
this. They won't allow. I'm saying like one, like in there's the joke is always like, finally we have a black Catwoman, right? So what's going to happen if they try to cast a white woman as Catwoman next time?
well, now she's Hispanic.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. You can move it slowly to Hispanic and then back to Filipino and then to white again.
But
no problem.
once you go under, I just don't.
But then again,
you-
like that's not my biggest concern. Like, because she's wearing a mask anyway. You know,
I'm
like
just
I'm
using,
not worried
I'm using
about
her
that.
as a general example.
Yeah.
I'm saying once you change these characters, then it will be considered white supremacy to move it back the other direction.
I think at some point it'll be like
At least in the
unique-
media, it
it'll
will
be unique again, and they'll let it happen. I'm more concerned about changing the character's ideology. So when you have something like Batman versus Poison Ivy and Mr. Freeze, Dr. Freeze, Mr. Freeze,
Mr. Freeze.
Mr. Freeze. I always want to give him that medical credential he never really earned. But you've got a
No,
guy
he's
who's
a
trying to
doctor.
stop global warming.
I think so, but his
He's a
character
doctor.
is Mr. Freeze.
You got a guy
instead.
who's trying to stop global warming, right? And then you've got this like lady who's trying to help bring back plants in the rainforest.
Well, they're
And-
eco-terrorists. That's what.
Oh
the-
yeah. And then the good guy is this like trust fundy who's got all the money, the Republican guy who's trying to destroy the environment.
There's no
Okay.
evidence
Okay.
that
He's a
Batman is a
Republican.
Republican.
Yeah.
Okay, Batman could very easily be an independent.
Oh yeah, but
Or a
his
libertarian.
but Wayne likes to finance Republicans. Let's be real. MAGA was a Wayne slogan. Like
All right, I mean, I think that's good for Chris. If you want to keep going, I don't know if we're rambling.
that would be the point to be like, well, that's all the time we have for today, or something.
Yeah, so thanks for watching. I don't know.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Seriously though, come back.
What was that? 2 articles?
yeah,
That was two
Cool.
articles.
All right. Yeah. So
yeah.
join
I
us
think-
next time for
Another
Pop
exciting
Culture.
episode of Pop Culture Crisis.
Join us next time.
Your favorite sexy, beautiful host, Brett, and Miracle Andreas.
Yes, you guys are good. Fantastic. That was fun.
yeah.
I thought it was a pretty nice outfit.